All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for a live walk in Paris. French tour guide Patrick returns to give viewers a live tour of Paris. We'll be walking while zooming with us. He'll be walking with while zooming to us to show live video. We hope to capture and Patrick can speak more to this. But I think we're going to look at Notre Dame, the Pont Neuf, the river Seine, Sainte-Chapelle, and many more. And I probably mispronounced half those things. I apologize. My ninth grade French teacher would not be happy with me. Patrick will discuss the history of each of these Paris landmarks and offer tips for traveling to Paris. So all nearly 300 of us who are watching live, let's give Patrick a big virtual round of applause. And Patrick, you can finally take it away. Thanks so much.
Okay. Just what? I'm balanced on police car passing by, so I just wait they pass.
No problem, Patrick.
Yeah, firefighters with the noise of the air. Okay, they just moved from here. It was very noisy. So welcome everybody. So my name is Patrick. May have seen some of you in my previous tour that I did from home about the Louvre in 2 hours. So maybe we'll see us for Orsay or Pompidou in another 1 hour to do some more home tour. By that time, I proposed to Robert to make a walking tour. And I know you may not use about that, but myself, I'm very used about doing walking in Paris. So I think it's also interesting sometimes to be live in the street and to discover with me the building and the history and the architecture of Paris. Obviously, we are in the street. We are not at home. So sometimes it can be a little bit windy. I'm using my AirPods. So, sometimes you can have the sound a little bit more, a little bit more because of the wind. Or sometimes the image can be a little bit more blurry because the connection can be a little bit weaker. So don't worry, okay? That's normal. You are not used about that if you do usually webinar from home. But I think it's worth to have this little risk because being live in the street, there's always a lot of things which are just happening that sometimes we don't. So part of that, if you never met me, my name is Patrick. I'm a Parisian, raised born. I'm a licensed tour guide in Paris. So, I've got the diploma from the Ministry of Culture to be able to guide people. And normally I do most of my tour in the museum, in the Louvre or Orsay or Pompidou or Rodin because I'm a licensed guide, but also do have the pleasure to do the tour in the street because we can visit Paris by the street, not only in the building. So where I am today, let me change the position of my screen to show you, and let me also change. Okay, now I see what you see. So we are in front of 2 buildings in Paris, which are just by the river. You see the river, it's just over there. So we're going to go over there. We're going to cross that bridge, which is named the Pont Neuf. That's exactly what Robert told you. Now, Robert, your accent was pretty good because I got all the words you said. So it means that you could have asked that in the street in Paris. I would have replied to you. So yes, we're going to cross the Pont Neuf. We're going to go to the island to see Notre Dame, Sainte-Chapelle, and things like that. But first, before crossing the island, we are on the right bank of the river, meaning the north part of the river. And I wanted to share with you 2 beautiful buildings because I think it's very important in terms of architecture. We spoke about architectures and art when we were in the Louvre. And here we have got something which is quite not rare, but which is quite interesting to have got them both one by one, which are a department store, which is named Samaritan. Samaritan, let me show you the name of the department store. Here it is. You see Samaritan. It's coming from the Bible, the Good Samaritan, the lady from the Bible. And in the time of Henry IV, so we're speaking about the Henry IV lived in the 15th and 16th centuries. He died in 1510, so the 16th centuries. And during the time he was king of France, he built the bridge that we're going to pass by, the Pont Neuf. And just by the Pont Neuf, just at the entrance of the Pont Neuf, there was a fountain. And that fountain was representing the Good Samaritan. At the end, of the 19th century. So far after that, in the 1818, we start developing in France a new type of shop. In fact, French invented that. We invented the department store. Oh, you've got lots of department store in America or in Canada. Also, somebody said hello from Essex, so from UK. So we also have got lots of department store like Harrods or Mark and Spencer or whatever in all the countries. And here in Paris, we developed many department store, and all of them were an incredible change in the way of shopping, because instead of going to one shop at the ground floor a bit everywhere for the ladies, because these department stores have been made more for the ladies than for the men, to be honest, you had got by floors all the things you were needed. So you had got one floor for the ladies, one floor for the men, one floor for the kids, and things like that, in one building. But of course, this building, they also have been built with the architecture and the trend of the period when they have been built. Is the Samaritan building. So sorry, Janet, I just can see partially your message, because if I want to see completely, I have to turn my camera the opposite side, which is not good for you. So I just see if the Samaritan is built. But if you make sentence more than one line, I can't see the second line on my phone. Sorry for that. So
Patrick, Patrick, you can pretty much just ignore the comments, and
okay.
I'll relay some of the key ones to you at the end.
Okay, perfect. So anyway, the building of the Samaritan is dating from 1890. 1890 in France, we are going to develop the Art Nouveau. The Art Nouveau, the Samaritan is not from Zola, but it's the same period as Zola, absolutely. Zola is Au Bonheur des Dames. And so, but it's the same thing. Samaritan, Au Bonheur des Dames is the same thing. So the Samaritan is going to be built in 1890. And at that time, we are in the Art Nouveau. Art Nouveau, it's coming from England. It's named Art and Craft. And in France, we are going to develop this new type of art. And this art is going to be based on a couple of things, which are always going to be the same. Let me zoom at the building for you to understand. First, the colors. You see the colors of the building, it's going to be pastel. You see, it's a yellow pastel, it's a green pastel, we can have blue pastel. It's not going to be shocking colors. It's going to be always soft colors, pastel colors. Then the Art Nouveau is going to be based on nature. And by the nature, I mean flowers, leaves, trees, and also animals. If you look here at the line of the decoration of the building, you see it's flowers everywhere. So this is two things which are part of the base of the Art Nouveau. It's the color, the pastel colors, and also the fact that it's always linked to the nature. Then the Art Nouveau, it's also based on something which has to be quite curvy. And if you look the way they write the name here of Samaritan, you see, you can see the E, the S, the M, the A, all the letters have got a calligraphy, which is very roundish. Okay, it's not like angles, because they want to create an art which is softy. That's why they use the soft color. That's why they use the nature. That's why they use a special calligraphy. And of course, if I said the 1890s, you all think about the Eiffel Tower, which has been built in 1989, so just before that. So you are going to find here exactly the same metal structure. You see, look at that. You are going to find exactly the same metal structure that you have got on the Eiffel Tower. So the building is made of steel, and it's going to be decorated as the Art Nouveau. So that building, it's still nowadays a department store. It's absolutely amazing. We don't go inside because for the connection, it's not fabulous. But if you go inside the building, you will see the most beautiful staircase that you may see in Paris, which is all Art Nouveau. You see the structure, the metal structure. But this building, the owner of the building is going to develop the building not only at the end of the 19th century. He's also going to develop the building after the First World War. And after the First World War, we are not anymore in the Art Nouveau. And abroad, a part of France, the most famous artist from the Art Nouveau, of course, it's Gaudi in Spain with Sagrada Familia, for instance, okay? So he's not going to develop the same. He's going to use, after that, we're going to be in the Art Deco, that you have got much more in America than the Art Nouveau. You don't have many Art Nouveau in America, but you have got many Art Deco, mainly on the West Coast, on the East Coast, not so much in the Central America, but maybe Chicago too. So you've got this building, you see, and if you compare to the one which is on the side, you can immediately see the difference of the materials. Here, we're going to use limestone, cut stone, no more metals. Here, we're going to have no more these softy colors, but we're going to have got something which is quite flashy, black on gold. We don't have anymore the soft writing. You see, look how it's written Samaritan. You see the letters here, look the M, look the A, the R, they have got angles. The calligraphy, it's also Art Deco. Just remember, compared to the calligraphy of the Art Nouveau. Here it is. You see the same name written in Art Nouveau with a flower inside and with all the curved letters. And here we have got the Art Deco with the very angulous writing. And then, of course, it's going to be like a cube. When the Art Nouveau, it's curvy, the Art Deco, it's going to be like cube and cube, very geometric. So it's very interesting to see here at the same location, the same building, which started at the end of the 19th centuries and who has been finished after the First World War, to see the distinction between the Art Nouveau and the Art Deco. Wow, that was a short introduction to this part of Paris, which is part of the right bank. So it's been the north side of the river. We are close here from the Louvre, from Les Halles, and from the river Seine, and of course, not far away from Notre Dame, because we are a walking distance of Notre Dame. A part of that, I won't be able to bring you to Notre Dame. Nowadays, this building here is not anymore a department store. It has been turned into a hotel. It's a palace hotel, and you've got a fabulous rooftop, but you have to stay in the hotel to be able to go to the rooftop. And in front of it, you see pedestrian area where you can walk, and of course, where you can go shopping. And the other building over there, the style of it, it's Haussmannian. Just to finish, if I can say, the different style of the architecture of Paris that you see quite often in Paris, which is also limestone, but which is completely different than the art. So Art Deco. This is Haussmannian style, which is dating from the 1860, 1870. So you see, you've got at the same location, Haussmannian style, which is going to be replaced by the Art Nouveau, which is going to be replaced by the Art Deco. And then we are going to arrive to the Second World War, and that's going to be another thing. So now I made that short introduction. We're going to cross the street. We're going to wait that the car left us cross. I hope you can hear me well. And we are going to cross the bridge of the Pont Neuf. That's quite tricky, Pont Neuf, because Pont Neuf, if I translate in English, means new bridge. But in fact, this new bridge is the oldest bridge in Paris. Yes, we know, we love in Paris to trick our visitors. So we say the new bridge is the oldest one. So now we're going to be able to cross, because now there's a green little man here. We say, here it says you can cross, so let's cross. So the bridge Pont Neuf, you see there is an underground station here, which is written Pont Neuf, new bridge. And so if you look at the map of Paris, you see that the river, the center of Paris is here, and we are right in the center of Paris. New bridge, it's because Henry IV, who built that bridge, made a very important decision. Maybe some of you have been to some cities like Florence in Italy, where you've seen the Ponte Vecchio. The Ponte Vecchio is exactly like all the bridges were in Paris. It's been covered by houses. And the King Henry IV was fed up that all our bridges, which were having houses on them, were collapsing because of the weight of the house plus the flood. I mean, not the flood, but the flow of the river. So all the bridges which were built from the Roman period to the Pont Neuf have been collapsed. So the King of France decided to create a new bridge, we are working on it now, without any house. It's also going to be the first bridge which have got, which it sounds normal for us nowadays, a sidewalk. You see, you walk, here there's place for the pedestrian. If it wasn't like that, the space in front of us here, they have been covered by houses, and in the middle of it, you would have got the carriage and the different way of transportation. So this bridge is very interesting because, as I said, this is the first bridge which is going to be made as a bridge without house. That's why it's called, at that time, the new bridge. They had some shop, and the shop were in this little alcove. So you see on the side of the bridge, we've got little alcove like that, and here there was a shopkeeper which was selling his product. And the bridge is just above the river. So look at that great view we've got from the river of Paris. As you can see, the weather is slightly cloudy. Here, now you can have some wind in my airport because I'm above the river and it's windy. And so the weather is something like 21 centigrade. Now in Paris, it's not cold, but it's windy. And as you see, it's quite cloudy. It's not rainy. And also it's a bit more than 4:30 p.m., just to give you the time. In front of us, we've got that bridge that you may know, that you may have seen in different movies or different series, which is called the Pont Neuf. It also has been known as the Love Bridge, because it was on the bridge that I show in front of us now that we were having all the love locks. But all the love locks has been taken out from the bridge because they were so heavy that the bridge was gently collapsing. So we decided to take out all the love locks and we replaced all the fence by glass fence. Here, in between the trees, where I'm pointing with my finger, this is partially the Louvre. You see, we are very close from the Louvre. I just do that for you to be able to locate where we are in Paris. And if I turn my gimbal, you see, here we are right going to the west, and we're going to see a river boat which is passing. The river cruise boat are passing. Here it is. You see, that's a river cruise boat. People are sitting at the top of the boats to have a view in Paris. So if you navigate like the boat, that where you are going to arrive after a couple of days to England if you turn right, and to America if you turn left. Because you are going to arrive in the channel. Okay, so if you go straight after that, you arrive to England. But if you turn on the left, and then if you cross the Atlantic Ocean, you will arrive to New York once or late. But anyway, also you can see from here the building which is completely over there with a kind of two tower. This is the Museum of Orsay, which is facing the Louvre, nearly just a couple of, just 10 minutes walking from Louvre to Orsay. Louvre is hosting, if you followed my tour, the Louvre is hosting art from the antiquity to the 1850. Orsay is hosting art from the 1850 to the 1910. And after 1910, it's Pompidou Center. So Orsay is mainly hosting Impressionist painter. And on the side of Orsay, if you go a little bit more on the left, okay, here you can distinguish the top of the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower, it's at something like 40 minutes walking distance from here. If you walk well, okay, I mean without stopping to every cafe to have a drink, okay, you just walk from here to the Eiffel Tower without stopping. It will take you something like 40 minutes. So this is the west side of Paris. So this is that was the outside of Paris. And if I turn my gimbal the other side, you've got the city of Paris. You've got the place where Paris started. And you see here in front of us, the other side of the bridge, you distinguish a building which is named the Conciergerie. It's a very famous building because it used to be the palace of the King of France in the 11th centuries. And then it has been turned during the revolution at a jail where Marie Antoinette and King Louis XVI have been jailed with more than 3,000 other people. And then they were going to be judged in the court of justice of this palace and condemned to death and go to the Concorde to be beheaded. So nowadays, the building you see, it's partially a museum, the Conciergerie Museum, and partially a court of justice. So the museum is this part, the old castle from the Middle Age, and this part is the court of justice. And you distinguish also from here a spire. That spire is a spire from the Sainte-Chapelle. You see, if I zoom on it, you can distinguish the spire over there. So it means we are going to cross the bridge and we are going to enter inside the island. Never forget, the island is the first place for the first settlers in Paris. The first settlers were Gauls, and they arrived in Paris 300 BC. And then the Romans arrived 50 BC with Jules Caesar. They vanquished the Gaul tribe, and they are going to settle a city which is going to be named Lutetia. The Romans are going to put their administration in the island, and they are going to put the city where the people are going to live, the other side of the river, the left bank, where we have got nowadays Saint-Michel, Latin Quarter, Odéon, Saint-Germain-des-Prés. And the Roman didn't do anything in the right bank where we were starting the tour. We have to wait 500 AD and the first arrival of a French king named Clovis to start gentrifying the right bank where we were. And that king is named the king of the Frank. That's why we are the French. And the kingdom is going to be named Kingdom of Francia. That's why we are in France. And the king is going to decide to rename the city of Lutèce by the name of the first Gaul tribe. That Gaul tribe was named Parisii. So we are going to be named the Paris. So all that what you see, this is the island of La Cité, one of the two islands of Paris. But be careful, because at the origin, this island was not as long as that. All this part of the island that you see now was separated, was split. This part was split from that part. It's in fact the king Henry IV, when he built the bridge, that he added earth to create a longer island, and the bridge, in fact, has been built above the river. But there is no more river nowadays. Okay, I mean the river there, but not anymore here. It's not splitting anymore. But at the origin, the island was smaller, only that side. Here it was the river, and here it was another island on that side. And the king Henry IV built the bridge. Due to that, the island didn't stop anymore here, but went up and over there. Okay, that's why the island nowadays is a little bit bigger. You see here, there is one of the company of boat cruise. People are already on board. You see, they are waiting the departure, but they have to wait a little bit because the departure is at 17:50, so they have to wait nearly half an hour. Oh, there is a little bit of sun. That's nice. I don't know if I'm going to turn my gimbal to the sun. You see here, you can distinguish the sun into the air behind the clouds. Here we've got a whole statue, or that give you a dramatic scenery with the sky, the sun, and the statue like that. It sounds like if we are in a dramatic movie. So this is the whole statue of the King Henry IV. You see that famous king that I speak for a moment now, who built the bridge, who created the larger island, Henry IV. So that is whole statue. I'm going to turn the other side, so like that we'll be able to see him without facing the sun. It will be less, not blurry, but you will have a better vision of Henry IV. Here it is. He has got a couple of names, a couple of nicknames. Okay, so here is Henry IV. And you see from here, if I unzoom, you will see that we have been walking from the statue to the Samaritan, which is the building that we started the tour. You see, that's where we started, the right bank of the river. We crossed the bridge, and now we are in the island. But that bridge also is very particular because the bridge goes from the right bank to the island. But if you look well, the bridge don't stop here. It carry on and go from the island to the left bank to Saint-Germain-des-Prés. You see that bridge built by Henry IV, in fact, is a connecting bridge between the both bank of Paris passing by the island. This is the only one like that. And you can see here the bridge, and you can see the side, the width of the river of the side of the left bank. It's much more narrow than the width of the river from the right bank. You all also can see here, we have got on the river peoples which are living in boat house. You see, so we have got river boats and they use the bank as a parking. So they pay a parking place. The building you see in front of us here, it's the School of Fine Art. Very, very, very famous school because many very famous painters like Delacroix, many painters are coming from this School of Fine Art. It's still considered to be one of the best School of Fine Art in the world. So I propose now we go inside the island. And for that, we are going to pass by a beautiful little square. Hopla, we cross the street, so you see there's some car. So you see here a very typical architecture which has been made by Henry IV when he enlarged the island. And if you are familiar with Florence in Italy, and if you look at, you will see that the bricks and the cut stone are Florentine. Why that? Because Henry IV had got his wife, and his wife was Marie de Medici, from the Medici family from Florence. So no, she was feeling maybe a little bit homesick. So he built for her this building, and he created the square that you can see here. This square in front of us is named Place Dauphine. Dauphine is coming from the name in Paris of Le Dauphin. Le Dauphin is the elder son of the king. So it's mean when the king died, Le Dauphin became the king of France. So at that time of Henry IV, Le Dauphin was Louis XIII, and he's going to be the king after Henry IV. And Louis XIII is also going to be the father of the famous Louis XIV, the Sun King. So now we are going to walk by the river to pass in front of the conciergerie, so the beautiful castle that I show you and that you've seen partially a couple of minutes ago. And I'm going to explain you a little bit more this castle. Then we walk by the river. You see, the river is just there in between the trees. Then from the castle, we will discover the Sainte-Chapelle, and then we will go to Notre Dame for the last part of our tour. But first we have to walk, you know, because so far I don't have any technology to transport myself from one point to another point. I'm so sorry, but there is no Star Trek or any things like that. Here it's funny. Look, this is a bateau bus. So it's a boat which is working like a bus, like a hop on, hop off. So you can take that boat, you pay the ticket for the day, and it's going to stop at different locations in Paris, and you can go without any traffic jam. You are going to just go out of the boat to one part of the somewhere, I mean, to one of the locations. Let's say, for instance, you go to Bastille. So you go out at Bastille, and then you take back the boat, and then you go to the Louvre. And then you say, no, I want to go to the Eiffel Tower. So the boat is going to bring you to the Eiffel Tower. And the boat is making a tour, okay? I mean, a tour. It go from west to east and east to west in 2 hours. Of course, if you want, you can stay on it and to make a river cruise a boat. It's cheaper than to make the river cruise, but it takes you 2 hours because it's stopped. And so by the time people goes out and people goes in, of course, the time is double that if we're taking a normal cruise. You also can distinguish here something quite interesting. First, look, there's a boy here, and you can see, oh, look, and I'm going to show you that because that's so Parisian. You know, Paris is a city of romanticism, city of love, and things like that. And you know, one of the best places to make a date is the riverbank. We're going to be a little bit like the person who are looking at this couple. We are going to be indiscreet. They don't see us. They don't know they have been seen by 300 people in a different country. What is jaywalking? I don't know what is J. G-I-Y. I don't know that word. Sorry. You see here, you've got the people which are sitting and are having a drink. And that's what we love to do in Paris. You know, we love to be by our river, by our banks. And you see, there is no fence. I mean, there is nothing. So it's mean here, if they wanted, they could jump into the river. Well, I don't advise that for them, but I mean, there is nothing. You see here, you've got a staircase. So you can take the staircase, like the pigeon is doing. Yes, the river is mainly clean. You see another riverboat cruise passing. Ooh, many people on board. You see many people on board of that river cruise boat. I really advise you, if you come to Paris, to do a river cruise boat. It's accessible. They have got place for wheelchair, so it's accessible, and it gives you a very interesting vision of Paris. Don't forget, Paris has been born in the islands, meaning the river was a natural protection against the invaders. Because if you wanted to go from the earth to the islands, you have to pass by the river, which means that the river was a kind of a natural fence, if I can say. Also, you see the other side of the bumps, and you see, like for here, for instance, if I zoom on, I don't know if zoom is going to be big enough. Well, you can distinguish. There's people in lounge chair, because during the summer, we open all the right side of the bunks as what we call the Paris seaside. So it's not technically speaking a seaside, but they put lots of activities, free lounge chair, kind of amusement park for the kids, and activities for the kids, concert in the evening, restaurants, place to dance, sport activities, a lot of things like that. Of course, there is no car, it's all pedestrian. And you can go from the complete west part of Paris, so it's nearly from the Eiffel Tower, not really, but from the Concorde, let's say, and you can go by all that, and that goes to the Bastille. So it's going to complete the complete east side of Paris. And that's why we've got what we call the Paris seaside. It's going to be open till the 3rd of September of this year. So just a couple of days more. So now we approach the famous conciergerie. So you're going to be very interested, I think, by the different type of architecture on this building. First, you see this part of the building has been built in the 19th century. So it's typically like an Haussmannian building. You can see the fact it's like an Haussmannian building by the windows. They are very strict. They are not decorated, you see. They are simple. The Haussmannian style, built from 1850 to 1880, is very strict. Haussmann was the man who was in charge of the urbanism of Paris. He was Protestant. He wasn't a funny guy, if I can say, and decided to create a style which was very simple, very strict. But the idea since the Renaissance that we reintroduce in the art of the Renaissance, the art of the antiquity. That's why on this part of the building, for instance, you can see some columns. You see the columns here. They look so much like a Greek column that you could find in Rome or in Athens, because they are the Corinthian column. And of course, building Corinthian column at the time of the 1900s, it has no, I mean, it's not normal if I can say, but it's normal because since the the Renaissance, we reintroduced a part of the art of the antiquity into the art of that time. So after at the end of the 1900s, we're going to finish with that. So you see, with the art nouveau and with the art deco, we are not going to have any more these antique columns, but till 1870, 1880, 1890, we're going to have these columns, and that is going to start in the 1500s. So this part of the building is a new part. So this is the Court of Justice, but just by that, you distinguish the towers. And my friends, these towers are from the Middle Age. So it means, you know, they are from year 1000. And they were towers of the castle of the King of France, who was living here. And that castle has been built above the Roman castle from Jules Caesar. When Jules Caesar arrived in Paris, he built a castle. And the city of Caesar, the city of the Roman, oh, just sorry, look at firefighters' boats, which is passing very quickly on the river. That's firefighters. It means somebody must have fallen down in the river, because every day we have got people which are by mistake, by stupidity, or by pleasure. But then we have to send the firefighters, because of course it's very dangerous with the boat which are cruising on the river. To my history. So the Romans built a castle 50 BC, and the castle was under the level of the nowadays Paris, because the Romans built the city at the level of the river. You see, the level at the river is over there. So it's under the level of nowadays. So what we did later on, we destroyed the Roman city and we built above the Roman city. So like that, we could build, you know, a kind of bridge, like not a bridge, sorry, like a dam, like a fence, like a wall, to avoid the river to flood into Paris. Because before that, every year the river was flooding. So like that, with the new wall, the river is not flooding. So the Roman city is under this castle. I mean, the Roman city, the Roman castle is under this castle. So in the Middle Age, the King of France are going to build their castle above it. And the tower you see here are the tower of that. And the wall you see at the ground floor is the wall from the origin. But of course, at that time, we didn't have windows inside because it was protected. And now you can see above here, you see a different type of architecture. You see, because that has been before, at the beginning of the 1500s. You see, this part is the 19th century, limestone, but look at the windows, you see, it's like rectangle windows. I just show you that. You see, like rectangle windows. And here, you've got more like churchy. You see, we've got with broken arc windows. So you see that the architecture is different, and also the roof is different. Here, we've got a triangle roof. So this part has been built before. And this part, it's in between the towers of the former castle. We have got altogether 3 round towers and 1 square towers that you can distinguish at the corner. These are the original towers of the castle. So the size from that square towers to the last round towers is the size of the first castle of the King of France. The King of France are going to live inside this castle till 1380. And at that time, we have got a king named Charles V. And Charles V is going to decide to leave that castle to go to a fortress, which is named the Louvre. Don't forget that the Louvre has been first not built as a royal palace, but has been built as a military castle to avoid the invasion of the Viking and then the English, which were arriving by the river. So we built a castle before the entrance of Paris to be able to protect our city. That castle was the Louvre. In 1380, the King Charles V, who was living there, decided to leave that location to go from here to the Louvre. The Louvre is over there. Let me zoom on it. Here is the Louvre. The whole building you see there, this is the Louvre. So you see, he moved from here to the Louvre. And when he was there, he decided to make the building a little bit more comfortable than the Middle Age fortress. That was still very uncomfortable. That's why in 1541, in the 16th centuries, Francois I, the first king of the French Renaissance, is going, the one who brought Da Vinci in Paris and with him Mona Lisa, he's going to decide to destroy the fortress, the former Middle Age castle, to build the Louvre as you know it nowadays. So let's come back to our conciergerie. So as I told you, that was the place where the king was living, the castle of the king. And Henry II, well, he's the son of Francois I, so we are in the end of the 1500s. He's going to build a beautiful clock, which is not dating from the Middle Age, but which is dating from the Renaissance. And the clock, I'm going to show it to you. I just have to cross the street without being pushed by a car. Here is the clock. That's why we named that tower, because we are very clever in France. We name it the clock tower. But the clock is giving you the right time. Oh, it's already 5:15. Okay. So we have to hurry up to go to Notre Dame. And it shows the statue on the right show you the law. The statue on the left show you the king, the Rex, the king, the law of the king. So we're going to cross here. And we're going to see the building from the other side. Just going to try to pass in the middle of the bikes. I have to be careful, because when I walk in the street, I look at my screen to see what I show you, but I also have to look for what's happening in the street around me, not to be run down by a car or not to run into somebody. So that castle, as I said, was used by the king. The king moved to the Louvre, but he left his administration and his justice into this building. And he left the keys of the castle, technically speaking, he really left the keys to a man who has got a high rank officer, and that man was named a concierge. That's why in your hotel, sometimes you've got a concierge who is having the key of your rooms. And when you go to the reception, it's a concierge who is giving you the key. Because that's coming from the Middle Age here in France, where we had the concierge who was in charge of the building. And after that, at the Revolution time, this building hasn't been used to be the place where we were having all the noble people which were judged before being beheaded. But when the king was living there, he also, one of the king, wanted to build a chapel, which is the one you see in front of us now, named the Sainte-Chapelle. So I highly recommend you, if you can, to come to France, and if you can visit it, to visit inside. From the outside, you don't see the fabulous stained glasses, which are making the whole beauty of the Sainte-Chapelle. That chapel, the Sainte-Chapelle, is absolutely amazing and absolutely important, because this is the chapel which has been built by the King Louis IX. He came back from a crusade in Jerusalem, and he brought with him the crown of the Christ that the Christ was having on his head the day of his crucifixion. And so he bought that crown. He decided to build a chapel. This chapel, which was inside the castle, it's named a Palatine Chapel because it was inside the palace. And he built it, and he preserved inside the chapel the crown of the Christ. That crown stayed into this chapel till the French Revolution. At the French Revolution, the revolutionary turned this chapel into a warehouse where they were having flour inside. So the church has been unblessed, and it has never been blessed after. So it's not anymore, technically speaking, a church, even though it looks like a church, but we don't have got any service inside. And the throne of the Christ has been re-put in Notre Dame after the revolution by Napoleon in 1805. So that you can see here the Sainte-Chapelle, the entrance of the Court of Justice. We've seen the backyard, and here the former castle. So the whole things here make what we call the conciergerie, the former castle of the king, the palace, the Court of Justice, the Sainte-Chapelle. And so now from here, we walk to Notre Dame. So the island nowadays is mainly administration, exactly as the Roman made it. We have got the Court of Justice. We've got also Notre Dame, meaning the clergy. We have got the headquarters of the police in Paris, which is the building we are passing by. We're having the hospital, Hôtel Dieu. So you see, you have got many administration, and the 2/3, nearly the 3/4, I should say, of the island are not residential, but are administrative place. The two largest buildings in it are the conciergerie, I mean the castle with the Sainte-Chapelle, and then the hospital. And then after that, we've got, of course, Notre Dame. So we walk by the side of this building. It's a very important building, you know, because during the Second World War, it's here that the resistance took over that building the 19th of August, 1944, and resisted to the Nazi, waiting the arrival of the Allied army, meaning the Second Armored Division of General Leclerc, the French Free Force, which were helped by the 4th Infantry Division of General Bradley from the American infantry, 30,000 soldiers all together, which are going to free Paris the 25th of August. So this weekend was the anniversary, and this weekend we have got a lot of ceremony and a lot of tribute to that victory. And as here we have got the battle, because the Nazis were attacking this building, we also have a lot of plaque around this building where soldiers or resistance or civilians died during the Battle of Paris. And you see, for instance, I'm not going to show all that because this is not the theme of this tour, but you see here, for instance, you've got one. You see, it says here, fall for the freedom, Montauron Jean, who was a policeman, and he died here the 24th of August, 1944. And you see, that was just 5 days ago. So he has got flowers every year, or when people want, they can put flowers. And we have got, unfortunately, too much of this plaque because we lost people during the battle. So we are passing by the headquarters of the police station. The other side, you've got the hospital. This is very big, starting from here. I'm going completely at the end of the street over there, and then it's a whole block. So this hospital is named Hôtel Dieu. It has been moved and rebuilt in 1860, so that's why it looks like that. But the original building, the Hôtel Dieu, at first was built in 651. I repeat it, 651, the 7th centuries. So that's the first hospital which has been built in France. So not that building, okay? This building is not from the 7th centuries. This building is from the 19th centuries. But at that location, we have got, so since the 7th centuries to nowadays, we have got a hospital here, named God Hotel, Hôtel Dieu, because it was ruled at that time of the Middle Age by monks and nuns. And we are arriving at Notre Dame. So we're going to cross the street. To be able to go to Notre Dame, you start distinguishing here the towers of Notre Dame. So Notre Dame, it's a cathedral. Cathedral comes from the Greek word cathedra. Cathedra in Greek means a chair or a throne. It's because it is in this church that a bishop can sit. The cathedra is the chair of the bishop. That's why it's a cathedral. So you have got plenty of churches in Paris, more than 160, but you only have got one cathedral, which is the place of where the clergy is ruling the rest of the monk and the priest and the abbé and the nuns of the whole district of Paris. The Cathedral Notre Dame has been built from 1165 to 1350. So it's nearly 200 years of building. You can distinguish it from the front. And of course, you can see from here that the front part of the cathedral is in quite good shape. You don't see many wounded, if I can say, from the fire from the front side. You've got, of course, some cranes on the side here. So you can realize something wrong and something is happening. But the cathedral has been completely preserved from the front side. The firefighters are going to leave and lost the roof because they knew they couldn't save it, and they are going to take all their energy to save the towers. And as you see, it has been successful. So the side of the cathedral, it's covered by, you see here, you can distinguish here, it's covered by scaffolding because we are replacing the roof and replacing the spire. We have been already since the 15th of April 2019. So it's more than 4 years now. We have been renovating, cleaning, taking out all the debris, and we are on the good way to be able to finish and to be able to reopen the cathedral in 11 months. Why we are so precise about that? It's because we want to be able to have the cathedral to be reopened for the Olympic Games. That's our aim. We are hosting the Olympic Games in Paris in 1 year, and so we absolutely want the cathedral to be reopened. Of course, the cathedral won't be completely finished, the renovation won't be finished. We will work on it for at least 10 years more, but I should say 90% of it would have been done. The spire is supposed to be back this year, and so like that, after that, we're going to be able to restart the rest of the renovation. The fire started in the spire, in the scaffolding which was on the spire, because the spire was under renovation. There was a lot of electrical wire, and somebody didn't do his good job because he left 2 wires touching each other. So we don't know who did that, of course. But then there was a sparkle, and the sparkle made a flame, and the flame went to the roof. In the roof, we had got more than 2,000 oak trees, which were 800 years old, and that made an incredible fire. You can see here on this picture, you can see the hole in the roof of the cathedral by where the spire was. You can see here, you see all the debris from the roof, which is that the oak tree that I'm speaking about. You see, all of them have been burned. Then the spire collapsed and make a huge hole in the roof of the cathedral. And so seeing that, you see, we have got workers. You can see here some people which are taking out the stained glasses, replacing, renovating, securing, controlling all the debris. You see, all the debris have been completely digitalized to be able to be sure that can we mend them, can we clean them, can we renovate them? You see, like that statue here. You see that statue, that bronze statue, the head is missing. So we are all cleaning, mending, and renovating to be able to reopen the cathedral. And you see inside the nave of the cathedral, you have got all this scaffolding to be able to reopen the cathedral and to re-put all the stained glasses of the cathedral. And that is the ceiling of the cathedral. You see, it has been already renovated here. And I'm going to go for you now on the side of the cathedral to show you a nice view. That's on where we will finish the tour. Don't forget the cathedral is named Notre Dame. Notre Dame means Our Lady. The cathedral is dedicated to the Virgin Mary. So we took out one of the statues of the Virgin Mary, which was inside the cathedral, and we put it in front of the cathedral. So like that, the people who want to come here to give a tribute to the Virgin Mary, they can do it. So this is one of the statues which was inside the cathedral. And you can see here on the side, the scaffolding to mend the cathedral. But let me bring you to finish the tour on the bridge, which is going to the left bank, because we are going to cross. And so from that bridge, you have got a really good view on the cathedral. So here we are walking on the parvis. The parvis is a huge open space in front of the cathedral. And then there is a street here, which let us go from the island to the left bank, to the Latin Quarter, the part of the universities in Paris. And I want to finish my tour by the bridge, because the bridge is absolutely fabulous. The view from the bridge to the cathedral, I think it's a very good view. And moreover, by the position of the sun, you will have the sun which is going to spotlight the cathedral. So it's going to be a fabulous vision. I hope I'm not telling you that too much for having a bad view. No, I'm sure it's going to be a beautiful view and a fabulous last view in Paris. You see, now we are entering another bridge. So we are the other side now of the river. Okay, so you see, we are on the bridge. So we leave the island to cross that little bridge, which is in fact the smallest bridge in Paris. And in front of us, this is the Latin Quarter, where the universities, Sorbonne, and things like that are. And I'm going to turn in a couple of seconds my gimbal to be able to show you the view from there. You see a lot of people take pictures from here. And look from here, I think you've got a great view because you've got the river. And just by the river, you see, you've got the cathedral. Of course, you've got a crane, but I like that view. I think it's an absolutely great view to finish this tour, to be able to see on one hand the river, and on the other hand, the cathedral by itself. So, my friends, we arrived more or less to the end of the tour. I don't have any time control on my camera, but I think we must be around by 5:30, I guess, or something around that. So now, if you've got questions, I'm going to be able to reply, if I can, of course, to your question. And I hope you enjoyed that.
So, folks, let's give Patrick a big virtual round of applause for just a wonderful program. This is a first for me, Patrick. I know you do it every day, but this was quite amazing. Patrick, you're all right about the time. And for how long did you want to take questions, Patrick?
Well, I can take 10 minutes questions, for instance,
all right.
It's okay
Sounds
for you.
Good. Yeah, 10 minutes. Sounds good. So, folks, if you have questions, get them into the Q&A or the chat. I would prefer the Q&A if you don't mind, but I'll look in both places. So logistically, Donnie would like to know, Patrick, are you using a selfie stick and smartphone, or do you, how are you filming what you're filming?
Okay, so I'm using first for the voice, and to be able to hear you, to hear you. Yes, sorry, there is an edge. I'm using my I'm using AirPods. Okay, so little headset which are in my ear. I can show you. Okay, you see here I've got I'm speaking and I'm listening with that. Then I'm using my camera, and with my camera I see that. What you see, I see it. So in fact, you see exactly what I see. And then to stabilize, because you see, if I do like that, if I go up and down, it's still not very moving. Sorry, I forgot the word in English. Giggling or giggling, I don't know if I forgot, but it's not moving too much. Right. Because I'm using a feet which is motorized. So like that, I can turn. You see, with a button, I can do that. You see, I can move smoothly the camera, and it's called a gimbal. Exactly what I'm using, a gimbal.
Got it. All right, that actually answers a couple of questions. Francis would like to know: is the river clean enough to swim in?
So yes and no. I mean, yes, we control the quality of the river. And last week we have got a sport event named the Triathlon, where the people are biking, running, and swimming, and the athletes swim in the river. And of course, it's not completely pure, but it was the athletes said this is for all the countries in the world where they do the competition. That was the best quality water they had. Okay, so better than if you go to, I don't know, Sydney, or I don't know any. I just said Sydney, but I could have said Johannesburg, or I don't know, whatever. What I mean, the quality is not perfect, but it was fine enough to make a sport competition. But they are athletes, so the river is not open to the public to swim inside, not because of the quality of the river, but because of the danger by the boats which are cruising on the river. Then we are going to carry on the if I can say the cleaning of the river, because we are going to have got for the Olympic game lots of competition inside the river of free swimming. And after the Olympic game, the river should be clean enough to be able to open swimming pool in the river. So the river is not going to be open for the swimmer, because I said because of the boat, but we are going to have got part of the river where you are going to be directly in the river, but protected by things to be able to swim inside. So it's going to be pool river. But it's not something to drink, but you can fish in the river and you can eat the fish from the river.
Interesting. Anna would like to know, what time is it currently in Paris?
So it's above 5:30 p.m.
Yeah.
So I think in between 5:30 and 5:45.
Francine would like to know, what is the temperature like? She noticed that some people are wearing warm jackets or sweatshirts, but other people are in short sleeves and sleeveless shirts. Yeah.
You see, I'm short sleeve. So it is 21, 22 centigrade. So I don't know how much in Fahrenheit.
Yeah, that doesn't do me any good. I'll figure that out. Yeah. Marilyn would like to know, is there a lot of construction going on right now for the 2024 Olympics?
Oh yes. Oh yes, that's a question which are making, the French are very grumpy people. They love to complain about everything. And so for that, this time being, they are quite correct to complain, but that the price to pay to have the Olympic game in Paris. We've got most of our buildings which are under renovation. Yesterday night, I was doing a tour, an in-person tour by the Opera, and we've got a huge scaffolding in front of the Opera House, which is, of course, very pity. But on the other hand, in a couple of weeks, the Opera is going to be completely clean. So we have got lots of cleaning of the buildings, and we have got lots of works in the streets to prepare the city for the Olympic Games. And of course, we are building some sports place like a swimming pool or things like that to host the event.
Donna wants to ask, have the protests of this summer been a problem for visitors?
So when you speak about protest, I have to say which one, because we have got many protests.
Oh, okay. Well, she doesn't specify, but have there been a lot of protests?
So we had protests. One of the largest protests was about a policeman who shot a boy. So maybe that protest we are speaking about, that's quite happened quite in America too, where there is a policeman who has been shooting or has been acting to a colored person, for instance. So here, a policeman killed a young boy who was 17 years old and who was from Arabic origin. And so the policeman right now is still interrogated by the justice because he used his weapon. And the question is, was he right or not to use his weapon? The policeman said, yes, I was right, because we already tried to stop the boy who had steal a car. The car was stolen. So they tried to arrest the car because the car wasn't trying to drive, and the boy didn't respect and didn't stop himself. So finally, the policeman could stop the car, and they went to the car with the guns out, which is the normal procedure. And when they arrived by the car tried to remove, and the policeman shoot. So the question, did he shoot by reflex or did he shoot because he didn't control his nerves? So that's the whole question. But a large part of the immigration population said it's because he was a kind of racist. And so the protests were mainly made by this part of the population. And that was mainly in the suburb, not really in Paris. Being a tour guide in Paris, I had no trouble, and there was nothing special inside Paris. So I think TV, especially in America, enhance a little bit this protest, a bit too much according to what we really had here in Paris. I did tour every day, and I've never met any protest during my tour. But if you go to the suburb, yes.
Mm-hmm. All right, Patrick, let's end on a few more positive questions here. So Jill would like to know, what, in your opinion, is the best time of year to visit Paris and why? So when's the best time to visit Paris?
But I should say when there's not too much tourists, because of course like that you do lines less, but when the weather is still quite good. So I should say myself, I like Paris in April and May. So of course it depends how cold has been the winter and how hot is going to be the spring. But if the spring is fine, April and May is really good month because not too many people and really and the weather is fine. Then of course I would say September and October for the same reason than April and May. This is the beginning of the fall, and of course at that time less tourists because it's not holidays, not school holidays, and the weather can be very fine. Sometime in October we still have got very good weather. So I should say, if you don't want to take risks, May and September for me are the two best months. Then of course, if you can't help, come in July and August, and that's going to be much more crowded. But the weather should be. But now the weather, due to that we are not careful enough for our planet. The weather in Paris can be very hot. It went up to nearly 40 degrees. So I've seen that 21 degree was 70 Fahrenheit. So I don't know if you have to double, but I think it's above 100 Fahrenheit. Wow. It can be very hot. Yeah. Then if you are not afraid by the cold weather, I like also the period of Christmas. And so coming in Paris in between the 20th of December to the 5th of January, it's absolutely amazing because you've got all the festivities for Christmas market, Christmas decoration, and of course the New Year's festival with the fireworks and things like that. And so it's really nice also Christmas. But of course, at that time, you may not have the same weather than if you come in May or September.
All right, Patrick, last question. Can you tell us a little bit about your company, your in-person walking tours and your virtual walking tours? How does someone learn more about you?
Okay. So, myself, I'm a licensed guide. So, of course, I do lots of in-person tour. most of my tour, I hold them by an agency. And I do lots of tour in the museum, as I said, the Louvre or Orsay or things like that. I've got a website, which is called Le Paris de Patrick, the Paris of Patrick, Le Paris de Patrick, where you can see my different activities. Then I used to do, during the COVID, lots of walking tour live streaming. These days, we are so busy with the in-person tour with so many tourists in Paris that have slowed down my live streaming activities. And I do mainly only, like I have the pleasure to do with you today. And thank you for that, Robert. I do mainly private walking tour. But I'm doing a couple of them. And you can find me, for instance, on a free tour, which are tipping, called Walkative. And I give free tours next month. But before, I used to give 2 tours per day as a live streaming tour. But nowadays, it's more like 1 or 2 per week. Not
Patrick,
because I don't like.
Patrick, I think I have your website address on file, so I will include that in the email that I send out.
Thank you so much. Or anyway, my email, the Paris de Patrick _guide.gmail.com is perfect because I receive all my emails. So if anybody wants to get some information about this tour, or if wants to get some information about me, it will be with great pleasure.
Yeah, I'll include your email address as well. So folks, let's give Patrick another big virtual round of applause. Look for an email from me later today with the recording and the feedback survey. Patrick, great job as always, and we'll do something again in the future. So have a great day.
Thank you. And you see, we can do on street. It works.
There we go. It does work. You've converted me. I'm now a believer. And I said have a good day, but I should say to you, have a good night. So have a good night, Patrick. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.